Welcome to season 15 of the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and this week we are talking with Jeremy Saline, who is the executive director of On the Rise Tennis, a nonprofit established to help offset some of the costs and expenses involved in junior tennis. Jeremy was not a tennis player growing up. He, in fact, played multiple team sports, going on to play baseball at the collegiate level. But now he's the dad of 4 kids, and his oldest has gotten the tennis bug. He quickly realized how expensive it is to pursue junior tennis at a high level and thought, gosh, if we're having these challenges, certainly there are other families out there facing similar challenges. And he went to work to establish this nonprofit, this 501c3, on the risetennis.org. It is an organization, yes, set up to help offset some of the cost, as I said, of junior tennis, but also they have as their mission to build a team of players ages 10 to 18 that come together both in person and virtually to train, to travel together, to interact with one another, to do community service projects, to give back to their local communities, and so much more. So if you are interested in learning more about the organization, the link is in the show notes on parentingaces.com or wherever you're consuming this podcast. And I hope you'll click, consider donating, consider becoming a mentor. If you have a child that's eligible to apply to be part of the team, take care of that application process and just see what you can learn about this organization and help spread the word as they continue to grow. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of Parenting Aces. Jeremy Saline, welcome to the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm super excited to dive into your work with On the Rise and get to the why and the what and the how. But before we do that, I would love for you to give our audience a little bit of your background in sports, not necessarily tennis, but we'll get there, just so they know who we're talking to today.
Yeah, Lisa, thanks for having me. Really excited to be on the program, and glad our paths crossed here, and really excited about the opportunity to tell a story today. But yeah, so welcome everybody. Nice to hopefully meet everybody here, listen to the podcast at some particular point. But yeah, as Lisa was mentioning, I don't necessarily have a long history of the tennis environment or even being a player myself growing up. But I do have a sports background, across football, baseball, basketball, golf, you name it. Did play collegiately at the Division I level in baseball and played that for 4 years and then graduated. And now I'm a professional in a completely different industry and totally understand the dynamics of sports and what they require, especially at the junior level, which I'm seeing a lot of different changes. And as I got introduced through my children into the great sport of tennis, it really started to open up and ask some questions for me about the sport and how can we help kids, get to where they want to be. Because it's a very, very challenging, individualized type sport, which is different from the sports that I were familiar with. Growing up, it was definitely more of a team based element with individual work, and tennis is completely different. And that's, part of the reason that I started On the Rise Tennis. So yeah, happy to be here.
And your kids are what ages now?
Yeah, so I have four. Guess I'm a
Oof.
glutton for punishment. Ages of just recently turned 13 all the way down to four. So my oldest daughter's 13, second daughter is 10, and my son is 7, and then I have a daughter that's 4.
Wow. And who's playing tennis? What age kids?
Yes. So my oldest was really the one that drove a lot of the formation of this organization for sure, as she started to play, beginning at the age of 7 or 8. And then my 10-year-old didn't quite play as much competitively as my oldest one, but still takes lessons from time to time. But it's really my oldest. My oldest is really the one that really dug in and took a liking to the sport, and then continued to play over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. And hence, why we're having this conversation today is because I've learned a lot, and I'm trying to help as best I can, not only my, obviously my child, but also others that are out there as well.
So, what was it about junior tennis that made that light bulb go on for you to say, there's a problem here, and I have the skills and the connections to help solve it?
It's a big question. Yeah, I can't remember one particular moment. It's just been a collection of moments that have all, I guess got me to where we are today. But as I, starting out as a 7, 8 year old that was getting into the game because it was fun. Started out with group lessons that evolved into starting to see some separation of her, having a different level of skill, that we started to break away from the group setting to more of individualized lessons, private lessons. And then, that evolved to fast forward to starting to get into playing into some local tournaments and having success. And, I'm really fast forwarding here, and then that evolved into more time on the court, which became more costs associated to that. Then it became, okay, I'm winning here on the local level. Let's explore outside of the district and start to move to other districts, other sections, other regions. And your eyes start to open up about the level of competition, the access that some people have, what you're competing against in terms of kids that are involved in academies, and we're trying to find court time, and it's very costly, and it's just it really started, as she started to get into the age of 10, 11, 12 is really when I started to look at it and say, okay, this current model for us is not sustainable. And, strictly from a cost, where she was at in her career. I mean, she finished up her 10-year-old career in the national championship down at the USTA campus, did well there, won it, and then that evolved into then getting into the 12 and under, 11 and 12, started playing in some higher level tournaments. Then all of a sudden we find ourselves in little Mo tournaments. We're all over the country, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a lot. This is a lot of money, right? And I started to look at it and say, she's, what the kids that we're competing against, she's not anywhere near the level of court time and training that is needed to sustain that. And yet here I am, struggling with the fact that tennis has become my single most highest expense in a monthly basis, and it's still not enough. And so it was very, this course of the last year and a half, it was very, much a punch in the gut a little bit to say, hey, if she still wants to pursue this at the level that's required, to play at a high level, we're gonna need to build something that maybe can help support her, but also other kids that are struggling with the same aspect. And so, the formation of the organization On the Rise Tennis, being a nonprofit, it was, initially built upon the aspect of financially helping support kids chasing their dreams, to be able to compete, right? But then as I'm starting to uncover more opportunities, it's really the team element that's missing too in junior tennis, combined with, the mental side of it as well. And so that's a big piece of it is, yes, if I wanted to collect people's money, it would be start a GoFundMe, but it's more than that. It's really, I want connections between the donors and sponsors with the kids that are on the team, because inside the nonprofit, the focus is on building a team that can travel together, train together, play together. So we create more of that team environment, that it doesn't really exist in junior tennis today. It's really not till high school until you actually become part of the team. And that's one of the differences that I saw is kids burn out because they feel like they're just doing it on them, doing it by themselves, and other kids are playing volleyball and, basketball and football and other sports, and they have a team to train with. And so it's really a twofold approach, is what I've uncovered over the last 4 or 5 years.
So, like a lot of successful businesses and nonprofits as well, you were experiencing this pain point and thought, okay, I can do something to help relieve it, not just for my family, but for other families out there. And you kind of took the bull by the horns, got your 501c3 status, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And
Yes.
and built a website, built a structure around which you connect players with financial donors and sponsors who want to support those players. So you do it through a grant program. Am I
That's
saying that
correct.
properly?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So what are the criteria for applying for and actually receiving grant money from On the Rise?
Yeah, so there is an application process that you do have to meet particular categories, and we do have a focus on grade point average. That's an element. You have to submit a letter of recommendation, your own personal letter as well about your journey and what you'd like to accomplish, and then you also have to be a player that does have aspirations to play at a higher level, right? It's not necessarily for somebody that may be taking lessons that's maybe new to the game, or this is really for someone that says, this is what I want to do. I maybe want to play collegiately or even, at an advanced level higher than that, professionally, potentially. And so that you have to submit all that on the website, and then the board of directors looks at the criteria and makes sure that everything checks out, and then they become part of the team. And then as part of that team, then as grant money becomes available, then that's dispersed to the players that are part of Team Rise, which is part of On the Rise Tennis. So yes. Yeah.
Okay. And what age is your team? Like, how old do the kids have to be?
Yeah,
And
it's
is
but
there an
both
upper
boys and
limit?
girls. Yeah, between the ages of 10 to 18 is where we started at. So currently we have three players that are part of the inaugural group. As you mentioned, taking the bull by the horns. This has been a project for me that started back about a year ago. And then I had my first meetings in January and went through the process of getting it established and everything laid out structurally from a corporation perspective, but also the marketing and website and partnership behind that. And here we are. So we officially launched really in October. And so we have three kids on the team now, and we're looking to expand that as well. And it's not, I'm based in Ohio, but it's not necessarily, the players do not have to just be based in Ohio. And so there is an element of the team aspect that we know we're not going to be able to train together every single day, but building a training schedule, a camaraderie. I'm working with an AI coach now on the mental side. Give a little shout out to Arthur Gutch in AI and the life writing trails that he's looking to partner with us on, and so to really help the kids be a part of something that whether it's traveling to tournaments together, keeping and holding each other accountable, that's the ultimate goal. They feel like they're a part of something. So it's open to boys and girls of all ages, you different UTRs, but you have to submit the form online, and we'll make sure that you meet the qualification criteria to join the team.
So you mentioned your board of directors. How did you choose your board, and what role do they play other than looking at these grant applications?
Yeah, so I did tap into my tennis level of experts. So we do have a nice blend of board of directors that are currently living tennis every single day. We have another executive director, Gary Innes, that's part of that. He's played collegiately, and he's currently involved in Net Gains, foundation, and he runs nonprofits himself. And he actually coached or trained my daughter, and we were part of that for a little bit through her early stages of her development. But he's really my tennis guru, you could say, that's really tied into to the network, right? And then we also have a few former high school players that are now in banking and different marketing and sales positions. And then we have Michelle on the team as well, that she currently still competes high level 4-5 player herself. And she's played all the way up through. So everyone has a tennis. Ironically, everybody has a tennis background except me. And so it's a nice blend of people that grew up with different means, understand the dynamics of the sport, some of the challenges that exist, and the overall costs and structure of the current system that can lend some expertise as we continue to grow this organization.
And where do you solicit donations? Are they corporate? Are they individual? Combination?
It's definitely a combination. We've received some individual personal contributions already. The big focus is going to be aligning with businesses, and I mentioned this earlier. Yes, the donations are great, but I'm really looking for businesses and sponsors and people that really want to invest in what we're trying to do. And I look at it as an investment because yes, the write-off is great on the 501(c)(3) status for sure. Let's level set there. But where their money is going, it's very transparent. They can see who's on the team, where the funding is going, how it's helping them, potentially travel to, a high level tournament, to train the hours that they need to. And, part of the qualifications as well is there's a community support aspect as well that the kids on the team have to meet a certain requirement of community service as part of this as well. And so, our goal is, as a business sponsor and donor, is we really want them to make that connection with the players and know that they're really helping these kids potentially chase their dreams. And I know there's other sports out there. It's other sports have costs as well and travel teams and all of that. But what I've found having done all of that is tennis is a little different. It's a really high priced tag on success and it's a challenge. And their contributions and investments are directly to the players, and it's very transparent.
Love it. Love it. So let's talk about the application process a little bit. Let's say you've got a family with a 10-year-old that has named tennis as their sport. They want to get good enough to play in college, maybe go on to play professionally. What Once they've filled out your online application and submitted these letters and the personal statement, and I'm just looking on your website right now to make sure I don't miss anything. Um, then what is the selection process at that point? What is your board looking at specifically to determine if somebody's a good fit? And also, is there a size limit to the team that you're going to put together here?
Yeah, those are really, really great questions. And, part of that is, where we draw the line of, is it 5 players? Is it 3 players? A lot of that is going to be based on the funding that starts to flow in, right? Because we obviously want to make sure that the initial group of players are taken care of from the aspect of they're able to do what they need to do, and then we'll look to continue to add players to that as well. And so there's really no set dollar amount on what's going to trigger that yet for us to say, hey, we're gonna take on five more players. I think it's going to, as the money comes in and the connections we start to make and network, and we can see that there is a nice flow of incoming money that's going to open up the opportunities for us to then, look at the waiting list of applicants and start to, on a first come, first serve basis, start to fill out the team. And really what we're looking for, is that aspirational person that says, this is really what I want to do. And at 10 years old, we know things could change. By the time they hit 13 and they say, like, I really don't want to do this anymore, that's okay. I mean, they don't have to be a part of this organization forever. But for that time period, if it's something that they want to pursue and they're making the investment in, you know, tournaments and just a different level of training, and they meet the GPA requirements and they're a good community person, we're all in. We're all in on wanting to bring that person on.
And just to be clear, you're not looking at this as 100% funding of somebody's junior tennis development and competition, at least not yet. But you are looking at this as a way to supplement what a family has available financially to invest in their child's dream of playing tennis at a high level.
That is correct. I don't necessarily ever foresee it, 100% supporting every single cost that comes with playing tennis at that level. It's really to help offset and soften, some of that monthly burden of what it costs to really train and compete at a high level, right? Because as I mentioned early on in this discussion, it really dawned on me when my daughter was playing in a level four semifinal match, and we're in a different state, and she's up against somebody from IMG Academy. And very competitive match. She came up a little short. But it really dawned on me that, my daughter's getting 6, 7 hours a week in court time compared to somebody that's, at an academy and they're probably involved in tennis 4 or 5 hours a day. Right. And with that comes a sizable investment for sure for her parents as well. But so the goal there would be with this is to allow her to have more access and more court time and the things that she would need to do to compete at the level that she wants to compete at. Any little bit of money in softening that monthly expense is very helpful. And that's just the wide range of the dynamic that junior tennis is facing at this point. And so I wouldn't say that this association is or organization is for somebody that has those level of means of access. It's for it's for those people probably right in the middle, which definitely represents probably the broader population that they want more, but they just can't afford it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, nobody really wants to be, you don't want to say go pick another sport. But so that's really what behind this is driving a lot of that.
Yeah. And that makes total sense. And I think it is, I mean, we all know how expensive junior tennis development is. And, once your child is at a level where you're traveling on the weekends, or maybe even more than that as they get into ITF age. And if you're doing the ITF international circuit, oh my gosh, the cost just skyrocket very quickly.
Hmm.
And it does become cost prohibitive for a lot of families, which is really sad. And I think it's amazing that you were able to pull this together so quickly. Um, I think what will be interesting to watch, because you are still so new, is, does USTA get behind this? I know there are grants available. We know there are sponsorships available through different tennis companies, racket sponsors, clothing sponsors, et cetera, et cetera. But oftentimes those things are hard to come by. And we've done podcasts on that. Your child has to have a certain something to be attractive to corporate
Hmm.
sponsors. Parents have to have the knowledge to go after those corporate sponsors, and it there aren't enough sponsors to cover all of the needs of all of the junior tennis players in this country. So I applaud your efforts here, and I think it's going to be fun to kind of watch you as you continue to grow here and grow this team, to see what the team can be. If you were at full funding capacity, what does that look like in terms of the size of the team and what the team is actually doing day in, day out, or week in, week out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would definitely see a nice mix of the boys and girls on the team. By age group, I think is important too, because really what spearheaded a lot of the conversation about the team element of tennis was this past summer. She played in a team cup representing the district and played, being one of the top players in the district. She played with a couple of her friends, another girl that's actually on the team as well, and if several of the highest ranked boys that are in the district, and they went and competed, and there was a tremendous amount of coaching that was allowed, which was fantastic. I'll say that. I don't know how that's a lot of maybe old school way of of no coaching, but I tell you that dynamic of being able to cheer on your teammate, have some coaching during the matches, from a coaching perspective, not the parents, really was an environment that I feel we need to have more of. And so that would be the goal of once the team is built out, is we would take a mix of those boys and girls, and we would, whether it's a USTA event, whether it's an intense event. I connected with Charles and Randy Jenks from Intense. I really like the concept of what they're trying to build and what that's going to do for potentially for junior tennis. So I've connected with those guys as well, and I could see that evolving. That I really want these kids to have fun at the end of the day. If you've ever been to a tournament, it's not a very good environment. I'll say that. The kids are nervous. It's quiet. Parents are on edge. It seems like everybody's the enemy. Um, and it's just a different environment that some kids really excel at that and some don't like it. And it's very stressful on the parents. And, there's probably a lot of people out there that'll be listening to this, that'll be laughing as they're hearing this because they've been through it, right? The kids call their own lines. I mean, I couldn't imagine going to a baseball travel tournament, high level tournament, and the kids are calling their own balls and strikes, right? I can't fathom that. And everyone's experienced that where you're spending a lot of money and you go to these tournaments and you may have a bad first round and then you're paying a lot. There was a bad call that really impacted. All of a sudden you spend $3,000 to $5,000 and you get nothing out of it. And that's just a unfortunate situation that happens a lot, right? So this team element, I could see us going and playing other kids around the country, maybe some UTR type focused events that they could play a round robin style, and they may lose, and that's okay, but maybe they're playing somebody that's 1 point higher than them in UTR that's really going to help drive their UTR up as well. And so they don't have that pressure of having to win in the first, second round in order to think that that's achieving success. But the current system's set up that way. If you want to play at a high level, play at these high level tournaments, you have got to have the points to be able to qualify for those, which means you have to play a lot of tournaments at the local level, and then you have to play the regional level to really start. And it just becomes you're chasing a lot, and it's a lot of dollars to do that.
Well, and the focus shifts away from long term athletic development into immediate outcomes, which are, as we all know, not always within the control of the athlete, certainly not within the control of the parent or the coach. So I love the idea that you're looking at this as more of a developmental add on to what the current system offers. And I think, including that community service element is so important because most of our tennis kids are playing from a place of privilege in some way, shape, or form. It might not be full financial privilege, but certainly we as parents are giving our kids a gift by allowing them to pursue their love and talent in this sport. And so understanding that from a young age and understanding the importance of giving to those that may not have that privilege is a key component of what you're doing. And it makes me optimistic for the next generation of young people coming up because I think as a society we've gotten away from that a little bit. So I love that that's a key component of the work that you're doing. So again, in an ideal world, you're fully funded. You've got this team of maybe a dozen players. Do you ever see this growing to a point where you've got multiple teams that are going out and maybe teams in different cities, much like what Intense is doing with their junior aspect where teams from different cities can compete against one another?
Mhm.
Or are you trying to keep this more intimate?
I think initially it's definitely the team's more than likely going to be built out probably with a good collection of local district type players, and then the goal would be, yeah, I hope people catch on and want to be a part of the team. And again, you just because you might live in Michigan and we're in Ohio, or you're in Pennsylvania, again, the intent is not necessarily never practice. The intent is not to practice together every single day. It's to be a part of a program, because inside the program as well as we're building what we call RIP, which is a Rise Individual Performance Program, and that's really has nothing to do with tennis. That has to do with, we want to, a big part of what I do in my day to day is coaching and leadership development. And I want, that's going to be part of their individual programs, is turning these young kids into, well-respected young adults and understanding how to be a leader, be confident, deal with setbacks. And so part of that ongoing coaching is how to handle yourself, how to communicate well. Those are all very important things for, look, I mean, if they don't make it in tennis, that's fine. We really want, to come out of this with them becoming a really, self-leader, a resilient type of person that comes through not only playing the sport, but also part of what we're going to be coaching and teaching them on. I mean, by no means is this an academy type program. I'm taking elements of that, and it's going to be more a lot of one-on-one virtual type, but feeling like they're a part of a team. And then when we find another club or another group of players that want to play, that's where we travel out and we build, like I said, whether it's a UTR event or some, to be able to give them credit towards some type of development while also incorporating the fun aspect of the sport. And that's the ultimate goal. So ideally, if we can get pockets of this built, teams built by geographic region, and we can align with, different organizations, including the USTA and others, I think that's ultimately where we want to be.
Yeah. And you talk about the virtual coaching, and I'm assuming that's more around the leadership skills, the media training, those types of things. So, when you're building this team of young people, if they're not geographically in the same place, do you have opportunities for them to come together virtually to talk about the challenges of being a junior tennis player?
Yes, that's the goal. And each player that's a part of the team is I'm looking for mentors as well to have that one-on-one. I've reached out to a few collegiate programs. I'm working through some of the dynamics of the NCAA and what that looks like. But I'm really looking, or it could be somebody that played collegiately that's now in the professional world that is looking to give back and to help these kids, navigate the mental challenges of being on the court for an hour and a half to 2 hours by yourself, calling your own lines, making your own decisions where you don't have a coach to help you. And that's a big undertaking for an adult, let alone a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid that's still developing, is how they handle that, how they process failure, how they process success. And that's definitely part of what we're trying to do. And so that's why I'm looking to continue to partner and have further conversations with the AI life right side of the equation in terms of how to handle setback and work through the mental components of having that virtual coach with you, that can help you through those particular scenarios. Because I see that struggle with my own daughter, with other kids that are challenged with that, right? And so this is definitely a big part of that element, is creating those platforms that we can get together virtually. They have their writing trails that they need to do, and they just feel like they're a part of something. We connect them with a mentor. We have the check-in moments. How's your Rise individual performance program going? Are you meeting the certain, requirements that are with that? And yeah, it's really a lot of one-on-one coaching type scenarios that they feel like they're a part of something more than just their individual grind that they face every single day.
You mentioned the NCAA, and I know NCAA eligibility and maintaining amateur status is really important at the junior level. Can you talk a little bit about how your grant plays into that and what you've done to protect the student athletes?
Yeah, that's great. And there's definitely a lot more information on the website, but it's that landscape's changed tremendously now. I mean, our state in Ohio, I think, was the 42nd state now that has adopted, passed legislation that now high school athletes can receive name, image, and likeness nil money, right? So it's definitely probably not as strict as it used to be, right? Where you couldn't even accept a hat or a jersey of anything of value. You couldn't do that. But now, kids can collect money, and so the way that we protected our students, through this and Team Rise, really the big thing is we're not. The grants are not paying them for performance. It's not related or tied any directly to, you go out and play a tournament, you do well, you win, we're going to pay you $5,000. So that's not that's not the requirements at all. That's not how it's set up. And so we're not a pay for play type organization. And that was one of the big requirements of the NCAA, is they're not going out playing a tournament and then we're paying them for that result. So it's not, and funding's not based on ranking or anything along those lines. It's once you're part of the team, whether you win or lose, as long as you meet those aspirations and those qualifications, you have access to the funding that's available.
And is the team, once you've been accepted, is that an annual like thing that you have to renew, reapply, or once you're in till you graduate high school?
No, you have to continue to meet the criteria, right? And so as things change in your life, if we have a kid on the waiting list that's been itching to get in, and we have a player that might be a part of the team that for whatever reason decides that they're just not as into it, we're gonna, the idea is, we're gonna have those check-in moments to make sure that they're still continuing to meet those requirements to be able to receive the grant funding that's available. So it's definitely a reciprocal relationship, as any good one is. But yeah, we're definitely gonna monitor that closely.
And on an annual basis or just as
Yes.
needed?
Yeah, it'll be an annual basis, and then if somebody's fallen a little bit short, we'll have those conversations. They'll have a window to get back on track, and then if they don't meet those time frames, then we'll be able to unfortunately terminate the relationship. But hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully that's not the case. But hey, look, things change, and that's okay. It's as long as they're upholding what the applications are in that process, and there's proof of that, all right, then we're all good to continue. They can stay in the program for 8 years if they really want to, right? But I have a feeling of some are going to come and go, and that's okay.
Yeah. And are there restrictions on what the grant money can be used toward? Does the grant money go directly to the player or does it go directly to the person charging the amount of money needed?
Yes,
Understand.
So yeah, no, it's a
That
good
was a really
question.
poorly worded question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so the way that we're looking to handle that is there are certain and I'd encourage everyone to check out the website. There's four, five, six different um, areas that the funding can be used for, and it's primarily around the on-court time, the coaching, the travel. And so people have to share, their receipts. There's got to be a paper trail that there was a tournament, there's a hotel, and everything that was accrued during that time or expensed is a direct result of that. And then from there, and there's going to be certain ideally, we'd like to be in a position, where we're paying for some of that directly with the business. As an example, if your child has a set tennis training schedule at a particular club, we know how much that's going to cost. There's proof of them being there. Ideally, we would work directly with the facility and pay that. But there's going to be times where someone travels for a tournament. We obviously know there's a tournament. We know what we don't want is we don't want the person going down there for a 2-day tournament and then expensing 10 days worth of hotel stays for that. And so, and that's why, again, initially the team is small. We feel like we're going to be able to monitor that at a level that is required to be fair and have a good degree of integrity behind it. And so, it's going to be a very fluid situation in terms of every situation is going to be a little bit different.
And just to clarify, you're covering expenses. Let's say a family is traveling to a tournament. You would cover the expenses for the player, also the coach, also a parent, or
No, it's
how
just
does?
it's just for the player.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just for the player. And so, as an example, I mean, we went to a little Mo tournament last September in the Bronx, and so the cost of the tournament there, your hotel stay while you're there for the tournament, any expenses incurred directly for the player, which obviously the players aren't going to be able to secure their own hotel room. So obviously, there's an element of the parents being involved in that. But yeah, it's not a vacation. Hey, I want to go here and play tennis in this particular part of the country. That's not what it's for. It's for their development training and tournament play. It's really within those criteria. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. But there's a lot more detail on the website as well.
love it. All right, what else do you want us to know about On the Rise that I've forgotten to ask you?
Well, it's an organization founded, by myself and others, but just we're an organization just trying to make a difference. And I think that at its core is we're really just trying to help kids and parents, if there's aspirations to be great and to excel, we really just want to provide that platform and accessibility for them to pursue that. And it's very transparent, like I mentioned before, and we're just really looking for partners that believe in the mission and our vision and what we're trying to do, and hopefully they come along for the ride. And it's been a good solid year since this conversation initially started into where we're at now, and even being on your podcast here, Parenting Aces. There's a lot more to come too, but I'm very appreciative of having the opportunity today to speak to you and share the message to the group of
So,
listeners.
yeah, so for our community, they can get involved as an applicant. The child can apply to be part of your team, Team Rise. B, they can donate funding. C, they could maybe get involved as a connector to help you connect to businesses and sponsors that might be interested in partnering with you. And lastly, get involved as a mentor if they feel like they have the expertise, experience, skills to work with Team Rise players. Am I stating that properly?
You said all four of those things very well. That's
Okay.
exactly it. There's a number of different ways that organizations and people can help that may not directly have a dollar associated to it. Obviously, that's goal number one, is to raise enough that we can start to build out the team, build out the program, and start to do what we've set out to do. But I'm already finding the people, like the the fact that I've met you and Charles and Randy and Arthur and other people that I have in the pipeline that I'm connecting with. I mean, I'm optimistic and confident that I believe there's a true network of people out there that understand the challenges and ultimately want to be a part of helping and providing some solutions to help soften some of the burden out there for some of these kids, because everyone's got a vested interest in seeing the sport continue to grow. And we, as an organization, and it's definitely something that partnering with the USTA and others to make sure that we're all doing what's needed to continue to grow the sport at a young age is very important to the sport. And I think it's a great sport. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a my tennis game probably wouldn't qualify for this for this group, but I think my passion does. But ultimately, yeah, I think you nailed it. And so if there's somebody out there that as a business that really wants to get involved with something that's going to help a lot of young kids chase their dreams, I think this is it.
I love it. If people are interested in reaching out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so you can go to the website, which is www.ontherisetennis.org. You'll see my contact information out there as well. If you're interested in sponsoring, and you have questions, there is a section on the website that you can do that, and then that email will come directly to me, and then we can start that communication. And then there's also PayPal transactional account on the website as well that you don't necessarily need to communicate with me if you'd like to donate. It's a very easy process. We already have donors. We already have the money flowing in, and so now we're really looking for those businesses and sponsors that want to align with their vision, with an organization that is doing what we're looking to do. So.
Great. And we will have all that information in the show notes on parentingaces.com. We'll make it easy for you to click to donate, click to contact Jeremy, click into the website to get more information. And I hope you'll all take a look at this, because we have all felt the financial burden of our children's passion for tennis. And anything we can do to alleviate that, I am all for it. So, Jeremy, well done setting this up, getting it off the ground and running so quickly. And just know that Parenting Aces is behind the cause, and whatever we can do to help you, I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you very much. Lisa, I really, really appreciate that. It's been a very exciting year getting this built, and I'm really excited about where this can go. The truth is, I don't know, but I hope with the network and everyone's goodwill and gestures and just support, I think we can do something special. I'm optimistic about that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come share on the rise with the Parenting Aces community. And to my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you next time on Parenting Aces.